Happy Monday. All right, so Monday webinar, lots of very exciting things to talk about today. Just a little reminder of a couple of details. This is how you can all get a hold of me if anybody has any desire to ever get a hold of me. You can find me on Twitter at DayTradersFX. Visit me on the website, DayTradersFX. You can email me, Jared at DayTradersFX. Remember, we're looking for important news events, important trends, and strong currencies. That is the goal of this week's webinar and every week's webinar. We just want to find where's the currencies where the action is happening, and where's the currencies where we have some trends we can work with. And so that's where we are on all of that. Quick risk disclosure. Remember that trading is very risky, and so be careful with it. These are ideas and commentary, trade at your own risk, etc., etc. All right, so here is a little bit of what we've seen today. Has anybody appreciated some lower oil prices? Any fans of some lower oil prices? I live in Southern California, as most of you know, and so does Chuck, and so does Mel. You guys are all out there in Southern Cal. I'm seeing gas prices that are just low, and it's so fantastic. I'm not hating it, but we saw that oil took another dip today, down below 45, which has been a little rare lately. So we're down in the low 40s, and it looks like we'll see what happens. I predict we're going to see some bouncing around. It may head a little lower, but I think it's probably going to head back up and then probably back down, probably back up again. U.S. markets didn't do too much exciting stuff this week. Just all in all, kind of a slow start to the week with a little bit of a dip on oil there. As far as news goes this week, we had some pretty exciting news thus far. Trade balance for New Zealand was pretty. It didn't really move things too much. Not too crazy. We have some. Oh yeah, because of daylight savings. There we go. So we got some UK news at 2:30 tomorrow, bright and early. I'll be up probably just after that. GDP numbers. That's typically a big mover, so keep an eye on that. Then of course we have some decent US news. Durable goods is always a pretty good mover. CPI numbers for Australia tomorrow. Going into Wednesday, this is so great and so horrible all at the same time. So we have FOMC statement on Wednesday with the interest rate announcement. US dollar pairs probably aren't going to do a ton between now and Wednesday. So it's just how it goes when there's this kind of news. I'm just not expecting much movement out of US dollar pairs until Wednesday, until this news hits and we're kind of past it all. And then later in the day on Wednesday, we have New Zealand interest rate news, which is interesting as well. And I think this is going to help perpetuate our New Zealand trends we're looking for. So I'm excited about some of that. Thursday, more GDP numbers, more New Zealand news, and then on Thursday, that's where we're getting into some of this Bank of Japan outlook press conference, all of that stuff. And we'll talk a little bit more about that as we get a bit closer, but I'm going to talk about some of these yen pairs and what they may be up to and what we're looking for. But they could say anything, they could do anything. That's one thing that you can kind of count on when it comes to these press conferences, is that anything can happen, and it can get really unpredictable and crazy, or be super easy and boring. So it kind of depends. Canadian GDP numbers Friday, and a little bit of U.S. employment stuff on Friday. Okay, so we're going to keep an eye on all of that. Keep in mind. Yeah, veggie price is not dropping. That's true. Keep in mind, we want to keep an eye on certain things as the week goes on. So I've talked about this a little bit. This is, just have a look at any kind of currency, heat map or whatever. We've seen over about the last week, since about October, 19th area. We've seen that the Swiss franc has kind of been the cold one. It's been losing fairly consistently against a lot of these different currency pairs, Australia and euro and pound and yen and so on. And then we've seen the New Zealand dollar has been gaining against most over the last week. Now, obviously, the U.S. dollar took a big leap going into the latter part of the week, where we saw euro head straight down, the pound move down big time, and some of that stuff. But so far, we're still seeing New Zealand and Australian pairs looking pretty good. U.S. dollar's got some strength to it. And then we're seeing, you know, a lot of the European pairs are kind of weak and soft. Euro, Swiss franc, you know, the pound a bit, are just kind of still soft and still, you know, not really pushing the strength side of things. As far as today goes, we saw, you know, the Swiss franc was up a tiny bit, and the New Zealand dollar and Canadian dollar were down a tiny bit. But overall, it was a pretty flat, you know, overall event. Nothing too crazy happened there. So here is where I'm getting interested in a couple of things. Speaking of the euro and speaking of kind of a soft-ish currency, I am very, very curious to see how this euro plays out against this massive trend line and channel that we have on the weekly chart. Look at this guy right here. We saw the euro run up to the top of the channel and just tap it and then come right back down. And now it's plowed down into the bottom. I mean, it's pretty safe to say that we could be looking at a weekly bear flag. I mean, that would be super extreme, but we may have that going. And so euro is just testing all of this stuff right here. And I'm inclined to believe that the euro is going to hold to some degree. I think the euro dollar is going to hold on to 110. We've been talking about this for nothing short of months, that if the euro dollar gets down to the 110/110.50 area, that we want to do something with it. And right now it's down at 110.50. And it dipped down. Our low, I think we got was basically 109.95, I think, right? What was our lowest point right there? Yeah, about 109.95. So it hit 110, bounced off that trend line. I'm very open to the possibility that the euro might just bounce up a bit. We've got definitely a nice bear flag on the daily chart, and 4 hours pretty bear flaggy, and you know, a pretty nice little move down there. But there's one thing that we've seen in the pairs right now, and that is a massive lack of follow through on anything, and that's good and that's bad. The follow through tells us that you know, that trends are starting, but I just don't know that we're into any trends yet. Look at the weekly chart on the euro dollar, for example. It's been totally sideways pretty much this entire year. I mean, we had that little dipping down, you know, it made some nice good moves the first part of the year, but then for the whole rest of the year, it's just been totally sideways. So that being the case, hitting a significant level, the 110 area and all of this, I'm going to be looking for any opportunity I can find to buy euro dollar. Here's the kicker. If it gets back below 110, I mean, we can give it a little bit of leeway, like 109.90. Then I'm out of any buy activity, and I'm gonna be looking to short euro dollar and trade that big daily bear flag. So anything below 110, and I'm short euro dollar. But as long as it holds onto that 110, I'm looking for opportunities to buy this thing back up and trade it back into some of these short-term, you know, short-term targets. Get back up into the 111.50, 11200 zone. I think we can get there. I think I think it's looking pretty good. So that's what I'm doing on euro dollar. But again, I'm not super. I'm not super, you know, hardcore that we're going to see any kind of significant U.S. dollar movement on anything until we get the FOMC news and everything on Wednesday. Excuse me. Pound dollar is even worse. I have absolutely no idea what the pound dollar is going to do. And if anybody does, please do share. We had a good trade last week on pound dollar. We did some trading of the breaks of some of these areas right here. We had some, you know, some nice little attempts. Things broke out, pulled back. I'm trying to think of where our entry was. Oh, it's back here. So we had that 154.15. That's where it was. So we had some nice trades back here. It broke down, came back up, and we took another stab at it. The pound dollar came down. Pound dollar will have some nice short-term trades, I'm sure. Long-term, I have no idea what's going to happen with this pair. You can see that it's just totally, it's worse than the euro. It's totally sideways, which is pretty rare for the pound dollar. It's a pretty decent moving one. I'm going to watch this little short channel, see if this runs back up to some of this big resistance in here, the 154.15 area, and then just kind of take it from there, but nothing big on pound dollar. Now, getting back to dollar pairs, again, I think it's going to be tricky with with the waiting stage that we're going to have with FOMC stuff, U.S. interest rates this week. But I'm looking at 7,200 as a very important level on the Australian dollar. We had a tough time getting above 7,200 right here. Failed, came back down. We had a struggle right here at 7,200, and then made it up through. And now we're just bouncing along 7,200 right here and creating a nice little flag, and this is just going to make its way hopefully into a breakout and a continuation up. I'm looking for the Australian dollar to continue higher and to continue strengthening. You know, like I said, I'd like to see the euro dollar strengthen, and if the euro dollar does, I'm that much more optimistic that the Australian dollar will as well. So my big level is going to be 7,200 on Australian dollar. If this gets below 7,200, I'm short as short. But if it holds 7,200, then I'm looking for 7,500 at least on the Aussie dollar. So 7,500 will be my target if 7,200 holds. So stops just below 7,200, looking for opportunities to get long and take that thing right on up. I've been looking at EuroCAD and DollarCAD a bit. Not sure what I think here. I think we see, because I'm a little torn more on the US dollar side of things, I think, you know, oil prices are heading lower. That's hard for Canada. So I think we have a pretty good bet of getting the Canadian dollar higher, Canadian dollar, US dollar pair higher. We've got a pretty nice little channel within the bigger channel. So it's been running up this bigger channel. We've got a nice little consolidation, basically another bull flag. Which we had, you know, last week. We had a nice little trade on this, broke out of that bull flag, and now it's just making another bull flag for us. So pretty much, you know, anything above about 131.75, and this dollar CAD is probably just headed right back on up again into the top of this channel. So watch that little bull flag. That's just a little freebie right there. It's a little small trade. But, you know, again, we're more concerned with levels. We want to see levels. The level for euro dollar, 110. Level for Australian dollar, 7,200. Little short-term bull flag on dollar CAD, you know, jump in that, grab a couple of bucks there. Aussie New Zealand is a bit torn. That one's kind of all over the place, so I'm not super psyched about that one. This is going to be a volatile pair for sure, the dollar yen, and I love the dollar yen sometimes, and I hate the dollar yen most of the time. The dollar yen, remember, we have been talking about 120-100 for a long time. It spiked up, it hit 120-100, it even made it as high as about 121.50 before running out of steam. It's pulled back. Dollar yen is looking very interesting. I like 120-100 a bunch. I think this is a great area. You can see there's, you know, this was kind of the top of our consolidation here. I still like 120-100. This is a nice little hanging man right here. We've got kind of, it could be a hammer really, but we've got some nice candles, and I'm just pretty much, if we get much above about 120-150, then I'm kind of changing my tune on dollar yen. So, you know, 120-100 is my level, but I guess really you could say 120-150. It starts getting above 120-150, and I'm no longer looking to short dollar yen. But I love this 120-100 entry, and I think the dollar yen's got a great chance of moving down about 300 pips down into, you know, back down into 118 and even further. But again, we have U.S. interest rates, and we've got Bank of Japan coming out with stuff. So the dollar yen is going to be hit from both sides pretty hard, and that one's going to be an interesting little mover. So dollar yen's great. I like 120-100. We're going to watch this pretty closely and be looking for opportunities to short dollar yen. Gold's been doing some things here, just for those that can trade gold and do trade gold. I'm more bullish gold at the moment. You can see that we've had a big breakout of this huge falling wedge on the weekly chart. You can see the weekly chart has not touched the 200 moving average in a decent amount of time. It goes all the way back to early last year, and so that's pretty significant. And it broke out of this big falling wedge, and it's pulling back to possibly retest that. You know, if it gets down there another couple hundred pips, you know, around the 1150 area, I'm a pretty big buyer on gold. So 1150, I want to be long, but again, much below 1150, and I'm out. So I like gold. I think this is a good setup. It's just, you know, this week is about the levels, and everything is really close to all the significant levels. Dollar yen, Aussie dollar, euro dollar, they're just close to these really important levels. So I think those are super great. The New Zealand dollar has been hot and hot lately. It's moving well. It's hit the 200 moving average. I think the trend is going to be able to continue on for New Zealand. But I don't have much of an entry at this point. I'm going to be looking at the New Zealand dollar as you know, as the week goes on, and looking for some nice entries. I like that pair a bunch. I just don't have much of an entry for it at this point. Again, I'm looking to short dollar yen, and ideally, I would like to short euro yen and pound yen. I think I think these are all great shorts, but again, they may end up going very, very sideways until the Bank of Japan news. But I'm going to be ready and watching and looking for some of that activity. You can see that the pound yen has been making some pretty big moves up, and it's slowly starting to break its way out of this channel. This is a weekly chart. This goes back. It's been tested multiple times on the top and the bottom, all the way back through 2013, 14, and most of 2015. Pound yen is looking really good here, and we've got that big support all the way down at 180. I'm going to be looking for opportunities on the pound yen to short it up here around this 186, 187 area. It just kind of continues to run up to these highs over the last couple of months, and then it kind of, you know, runs out of steam. And so I'm going to be looking at the pound yen for some opportunities at a bit of a higher price. I do like this little short-term channel we have right here the last couple of weeks. We get back below 185, and I think there could be some good opportunity there as well. Excuse me, good heavens. So I am basically looking for pound yen shorts. I'd like to get some euro yen shorts as well. Going back to the whole level discussion, euro yen is leaving a pretty serious hammer on this support down here, and this is big support. So 133, we've talked about this in a group in the group a whole bunch. 133 is pretty important. And the euro yen just does not seem to want to get below that. But I'm pretty confident that it will get below that sooner than later. But in the meantime, there may be some opportunities to buy against this little hammer right here and against this 133. So I'll be looking at possibilities to buy the dip on euro yen, only to be ready to sell it again. So anything below 133.00, I'm hugely short euro yen. But I think there's a good opportunity to buy into this one with stops at or below 133.00. So you see how these levels are just popping up. We're just right at key levels on so many pairs. This is kind of rare to see happen, but it's really great when it does. So euro yen is just, you know, literally 50, 60 pips away from some of this important support right here, as is Aussie dollar and euro dollar. And dollar yen and gold is really close by as well. These are all just super crucial levels, and I'm super excited about getting into these as opportunities arise this week. So I like that. Remember, I'm looking for New Zealand strength to continue. So I think things like pound New Zealand have a good potential for continuing down. We're going to keep an eye on that. If pound New Zealand starts to break and get above some of these resistance and gets out of this channel, there may be some short-term buying opportunities. I'll let everybody know on that. But I'm kind of looking to. I think there's correction in the works, but I would love to see some breakout up and then some continued movement back down on pound New Zealand. If it breaks through these lows and this 200 moving average, it may be ready to go. But as it starts to get above 2.2725 area, it may be ready to head a little bit higher before heading lower. Euro New Zealand has kind of got a pretty similar little setup here. We've got a decently overextended 15-minute chart. The 4-hour chart's a little bit overdone as well. But I would love to see a little bit of a run up into about 165.00, you know, probably 200 pips, and then start shorting Euro New Zealand from there. But keep an eye on this, guys. Remember, Euro New Zealand, if we see a little bit of a correction on New Zealand pairs and we see any Euro strength, Euro New Zealand would be a great one because we have the 38% fib and the 200 moving average all kind of at this 164, 50, 60, 70 area. And so, I mean, that's 150 plus pips of potential profit here. So any little dips, if this 161.50 holds, I don't even need to see a dip, but any dips I would be considering buying, little tiny portions with tight stops below Friday's low. Otherwise, I want to look at, I want to see if I can grab about 150 pips trading this up to around the 164.50 area, and then look for opportunities to short it on down from there. So that's what we're looking at. That's kind of where I am this week. That's where my head is. I'm super cautious about all the dollar activity we're going to have, but keep an eye on 110 for the euro dollar. Keep an eye on 7,200 for Aussie dollar. Watch this little tiny small bull flag on dollar CAD for a quick easy one. Watch 12100 on dollar yen. That's going to be a huge deal. 1150 on gold. That's going to be a big one. 13300 on euro yen. That's a super important one. And then just kind of watch these price patterns on pound New Zealand and euro New Zealand. I think we should have some great setups there. So I'm really excited about this week. I will be on all week long at 3 a.m. Pacific time, 3 a.m. chat time, and hopefully should be getting some good activity out of that. So that'll be great. I'll see you guys in the chat for that, and for our regular U.S. morning sessions as well. And for everyone else, come get a free trial at daytradersfx.com. We'd love to have you. Thanks for being on, everybody, and I'll take some questions on any setups or any other currency pairs right now. Send them on over.